have you all here. Come on in. We are here to do our Mobile Quality Live series. And today we're really going to be talking about how do you scale your virtual device testing for your iOS 18 and beyond. So we're going to walk through how do you shift testing earlier in your development process, also known as shift left, by using our scalable virtual device cloud now with our Apple Silicon support. So, before we really jump in, some quick intros here. I'm Madison. I lead our product marketing team here at Sauce, joined by Nick, who is our PM for our virtual device cloud, as well as Mekin, who is a QA manager at Domino's, who is going to speak to how they leverage Sauce to really provide amazing mobile app experiences. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a huge Domino's fan. I get those free pizzas probably way too regularly. So really excited to hear from him as well. So to jump in, wanted to just start by how quality has evolved. So if you think about traditional QA, it could kind of be seen as a bottleneck in the middle of development process. And as teams have shifted left, testing earlier in development to get faster feedback, some teams have shifted right monitor errors in production. But what we have found really the best approach is continuous quality, where you're really able to test early, often, and throughout the entire development life cycle. That way, you're really able to get those apps into the hands of your users faster with fewer bugs. And Gartner actually agrees here. They have stated that by next year, actually, over 70% of engineering teams will be using a continuous quality strategy. So at Sauce, we really are here to help you deliver that quality across your entire development lifecycle. So we support early app management, distribution. We also have scalable testing with real and virtual devices, and you're able to really monitor your performance in production. Today, specifically, we're really going to be focused on the testing stage, specifically with virtual devices. So with our virtual device cloud, we're really able to offer fast, scalable iOS and Android testing. And so with that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Nick, who's going to talk through what's new with our virtual device cloud and how we support iOS 18.
Thanks, Madison. Yeah, so absolutely. I think everyone understands kind of the value of early functional testing, as part of the development process. And what, we're talking about Sauce and how we help teams be even more successful with this is we help them with the scale and the infrastructure to really bring this earlier in the development process and making sure that you're testing more and more types of scenarios and more types of devices. So with our virtual device cloud, it's very easy to run thousands of tests very quickly as part of your development and testing process by pulling up our infrastructure and getting access to many iOS simulators on many different types of devices and different operating system versions to run your regressions and run your tests there so that you can find those issues earlier. So the earlier you find them, of course, in the development process, the easier and cheaper it is for you to fix those issues. And the benefit of the virtual devices is that scale is even easier to access and is even more cost effective for you and your teams. So, we know that our customers can achieve better quality goals with their apps by testing earlier on our simulators. So what's new with iOS 18 and what's coming with Apple Silicon? So first off, what does Apple Silicon even have to do with iOS testing? You may be wondering. So a little bit of background on what Apple Silicon is, what's the deal with it? Apple Silicon is the name that Apple uses for their own ARM-built chips that they now run in all of their Mac computers. So these actually got started on iOS by being the types of chips that power all iPhones and all iPads ever since their launch. But starting in 2020, they began to bring these chips to their Mac computers as well, moving off of the older Intel based architecture. And now they've fully moved all Mac computers now run Apple Silicon chips. As of I think 2023 was the last time they sold an Intel powered Mac. And what the impact this obviously has for Mac users is massive, but even for iOS teams, this has a big impact because, of course, Xcode and the full iOS dev tool pipeline is going to be running on Macs for the most part. And so by taking advantage now of this new architecture, which is now the same native architecture between Mac OS and iOS, you're gaining a lot better efficiency and just raw performance, and new types of APIs as well that you can now access building your iOS apps on Apple Silicon powered Macs. Now, of course, testing as well for your emulators and simulators is going to also be improved with Apple Silicon. And so at Sauce, since we're here to provide scalable infrastructure for testing your iOS apps earlier, we have now brought on a full Apple Silicon powered cloud to run iOS 18 tests at scale for our teams, and that's really the sort of big thing that we're going to be talking about today, and showing you how you can both gain access to the newest versions of iOS and iOS 18, and of course iOS 19 and things that are going to be coming soon as well. Those are all going to be run exclusively on Apple Silicon infrastructure here at Sauce. So okay, so iOS 18, why is it important, beyond the overall performance to gain access to this new version? Of course, iOS 18 is also, you want to be able to test on it because that's the OS that your customers are actually going to be on. So yeah, quick fun little poll here. What percentage of iPhone users do we think are already on iOS 18? If you maybe knowing from your own customer base or your own devices and family.
I know I always upgrade right away. I can't handle the little notification.
Yeah, some people actually upgrade just to get the new emojis. All right, yeah, pretty good guesses. I think yeah, everyone's pretty spot on. So yeah, here's the actual numbers. So these are actually the most recent numbers that have been published by Apple, which is actually at the end of January. So these are even higher. But at that point, 68% of all iPhone users had already upgraded to iOS 18. And if you look just at the iPhones that have come out in the last 4 years, it's even higher, over 75%. And it's likely these numbers are even higher today. So we know from Apple users, and I'm sure you would know this from your own Apple users as well, that they upgrade to the newer versions much faster than they do on the similar Android devices. And so it's really important for you to access these as part of your testing process, and that's why we're really happy to offer these from Sauce as well, on top of our even faster Apple Silicon infrastructure. Okay, so why does it matter though, beyond getting access to the newest versions? So we actually ran iOS 18 on our Apple Silicon infrastructure for a long beta over the last 6 months as we worked on making sure that it met our quality bar, making sure that we were able to support all the different types of use cases across this new architecture, and help teams transition from their older Intel-based apps into the Apple Silicon apps. And we've got some really great results from our beta, the teams that took part in that beta, and these have a huge impact on the overall performance of your individual tests that are going to be running on your simulators. So that first number, improved start times for a new session. So whenever you spin up a brand new iOS 18 simulator in the new Sauce Labs cloud, we're actually seeing a drop in that time to get access to your test, so that first command within your app, by up to 65% faster than on the previous Intel-based infrastructure and our earlier versions of iOS. So that's just getting you something much more faster if you're doing a live test within the Sauce dashboard, obviously getting you in there much faster to validate an edge case or to try something out. And then of course, when you're running at scale, when you're running thousands of tests, every little bit matters and really adds up to a faster overall test execution to run your overall suite. And then once you're in that test, the actual commands, Appium and everything that's going to be running in there, as well as your own app's performance in the simulator, has also received a huge boost, up to 40% faster text execution. And this will vary, actually. If you have more graphically intense applications, you're likely to see even higher, or even larger amounts of time reduction for your overall text execution, since graphical apps run much faster on ARM versus the earlier Intel as well. So when you add these all together, the faster start times, the faster overall test execution, you can really get a huge drop in your overall iOS testing suites. Some additional numbers from one of our large beta customers, a large bank running this suite, they saw even higher rates of dropping for the session start times, down to just 22 seconds to get a new iOS simulator up and running. And error rates have also seen a huge improvement. So this is also helping you with like a flaky test case that may have some issues where commands may get get tripped up or get slow. If there's some slow simulator performance, with that faster simulator performance, you're getting more solid tests. Your test cases are going to be running a lot more consistently, and when you'll have ultimately a lot lower error rates just from the test execution itself. So this just helps you gain access to the benefits of testing earlier at scale, and just helps your team begin to get back to work on their apps and driving app quality from the earliest step possible. We've got some additional comments from another one of our great iOS 18 beta testers. So this is from SNCF Connect. If you don't know, they run trains in France and I think Germany and other parts of Europe. And so they have an app, of course, for their end customers to book trains and things like that. But they also build an internal app for all of their train conductors, which runs on iPads. And so they've been running with Salt on iOS 17. But their train apps, they upgraded their fleet of iPads to iOS 18. They needed access to the newest version, so really important for them to gain access to that new version. And so they were really happy to take part in our iOS 18 beta on Apple Silicon. And then they were just really surprised and impressed with the overall test speed reductions that they saw. So they actually saw test durations drop 4 times compared to their earlier suites. And so they started getting more teams to adopt and just making more and more use of iOS simulator testing as part of the development process. So just some really great validation and really exciting to help these teams gain access to this incredible technology and these tools, and just to really overall improve the experience for their users. Also able to recently speak with Mekin and Orun from the Domino's team, who again was also part of our iOS 18 beta, and we had a short little Q&A about their experience with iOS 18 and just overall, why it's important for them to center quality within their app development. As Madison mentioned, the app from Domino's is a really big part of their business. They have millions and millions of users on this app, and it's really critical that they can support the newest versions.
I have been with Domino's about 10 years. I'm a QA manager here, and then I'm supporting our econ teams and also their projects, as well as planning QA resources.
How do you and your team approach the quality of your mobile app at Domino's?
We prioritize mobile app quality by ensuring broad platform coverage and consistent, reliable testing. This beta testing is done using VMs only. No real or virtual devices were needed or used by us. Currently, we use emulator for Android and simulator for iOS apps to streamline our app automation testing process. And we also have physical real mobile devices for manual and exploratory testing for more accurate test results. Emulator and simulator allow us to run automated tests faster and more frequently, also helping us catch issues earlier in the development cycle. While our current Sauce Lab plan doesn't include mobile virtual devices, simulator and emulator and physical real mobile devices played a key role in maintaining high standards across different OS versions.
How important was it for your team to start testing on iOS 18, and how did you guys think about that rollout?
The iOS 18 is currently the most widely used OS by Domino's customers. So it's kind of we are making sure our apps work seamlessly on. It was a top priority for us, and currently we are using physical mobile test devices to cover iOS 18, and it has been in our test scope to validate compatibility and performance.
Great. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about what your experience was using our support for iOS 18 on iOS simulators?
Sure. Our experience with Sauce Labs iOS 18 support has been positive so far. It's enabled us to test against the latest OS versions without delay. And we have seen solid enhanced performance with reduction execution time.
What that improvement in the performance, how has that really affected your workflows? Is that allowed you to test more, to test earlier?
Like since the beta testing is using like VMs, and we have seen up to like 50% reduction, I would say, in execution time for iOS app test, which has like speed up our feedback loops and might allow us to accomplish like different coverages.
Wondering if you have any advice to other teams, that are.
I would advise like focus on platform and iOS versions. Their users rely on most. I would definitely recommend using the Mac ARM VMs, as they have made a noticeable like difference in our test speed. And they are like especially useful for like scaling early stage testing efficiently. Once their foundation is solid, they can layer in real mobile device testing for critical path to ensure the best possible user experience. Thank you so much for having me for this. I really appreciate it, and we are really happy for your support, and we are really happy using Sauce Lab in our automation framework.
We wanted to thank him again for taking part in our beta and giving us some great feedback, and of course, also sharing his experiences with his and his team. We're really excited to hear the validation and glad to help them make a great app.
And Nick, we have a question from Michael. When are the Mac ARM VMs coming?
Well, they are available today.
Already here.
They're already here. Yeah. So if you're an enterprise customer, reach out to your account team, and we'll obviously also happy to follow up with you after the event, and get the ball rolling on your access to the new versions.
Yeah, feel free. Any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Nick, we did have another question come in. As we know, Apple is always having new OSs coming out. So I know there's a new iOS 19 coming up around the corner. What does that support look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going to be watching on our side with the announcements. We expect iOS 19 to be announced just in a few weeks, actually, the upcoming WWDC conference. And yeah, we've actually built our Apple Silicon Cloud as able to support all of the newest versions. So iOS 19 will be available as soon as it's available from Apple on our Apple Silicon Cloud as well, with that enhanced performance. So we're very excited to offer the new versions. We know there's going to be a lot of excitement around some of the new capabilities that are planned for the new versions, and make sure that we can help our teams test those as soon as possible.
Yeah, and also wondering, is macOS supported for cross-browser testing on Apple Silicon?
Yes, absolutely. So macOS support for Mac ARM is currently in beta. So we have iOS 18 on Apple Silicon is live. Is live now with all of our feature set. Our support for macOS on Apple Silicon currently, as I said, is in beta, and we will be coming out with that for our full GA likely by early July. Right now, potentially by the end of June, but that will also be our path forward for supporting new versions of the macOS operating system for Chrome, Safari, and Firefox, and all of our other standard web testing features. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more news soon.
Awesome. Bobby asked, do you have good examples on your site? So we do have a blog post that came out when we launched in April, but that is on the site. And then we also do have a landing page that speaks to the value of iOS 18. So a few different resources available. And then also this webinar will be sent out post-event, so you're able to use that as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
If you're looking for more technical documentation, we also have updates in our documentation center on some of the new changes as well, including some details on Appium versions and all of the kind of nitty-gritty that are going to be part of the of the updates to iOS 18 as well.
Yep. Yeah, and Michael, we can have your CSM reach out to you, but yeah, we went live mid-April, early April. Now I'm kind of forgetting the exact date. But yeah, we've been live for about a month, 6 weeks now.
They may have been speaking about macOS, which is true.
Oh,
But yeah, but iOS
good
18
point.
is available now. Mhm.
Yep. Nick, any other insight for folks who are looking to maybe like rebuild their apps for Apple Silicon?
Yeah, this does come up absolutely. So yes, there may need to be a change within your build process as part of this. The Xcode build process, as well as other tools that you may be using as part of your CI, do support building a app with both support for ARM64 as well as the earlier x86. ARM64 is the Apple Silicon architecture. x86 is the earlier Intel-based one. Sauce Labs does support apps that are built for both, so we can run an app what they call really what Apple calls a universal binary. So we do support those. You can also build your app exclusively in ARM64 if throughout the rest of your build process, you don't need access, or you don't have a need for an Intel-based app. So yeah, there will be some changes there. Like I mentioned in our documents, we have some examples and some links on how to adapt your build processes, but should be pretty straightforward for most teams. And again, it's just something that is going to be really helpful going forward, as well as more and more of the Apple sort of Apple developer ecosystem and tooling is making this sort of move to Apple Silicon as well. So it's just good to get ahead of the game as well.
We're really excited about this. I mean, as we had talked about, majority of all of us, I know, like I said personally, I'm on iOS 18. So yeah, your customers are already using it, so it just makes sense to test on it as well. And with that, thanks everyone.
Thank you all.